Hey guys, Matt here, and in the last few weeks I tried to relive my childhood by continuing one of my most favorite game franchises ever, Need for Speed. For those who haven't seen part 1, please go watch that first if you want to hear me bash on Most Wanted 2012 and Rivals. For those who have seen it, you probably know that right now I suffer from trust issues, PTSD, and I've blown out my sphincter. Need for Speed Most Wanted and Rivals are some of the most boring, terribly optimized, overpriced excuses in the history of gaming, and they should be considered war crimes. However, I've bought Fallout 76 on release, I'm a huge fan of Weezer, and I sat through the entirety of Jack and Jill, so I know a thing or two about suffering. And that's why I basically just kept going, starting with 2015's Need for Speed. I still remember the hype for this game like it was yesterday. A return to form, they yelled. It's going to be like Underground, but next gen. Full car customization is back. 2015 would be the year that put Need for Speed back on the map. Except, it kinda didn't. Need for Speed takes place in an unknown town where it's always night and you follow the cast of Glee while they're trying to make their mark in the underground racing scene.
Oh, come on little kid.
Every stereotypical character is here. Whiny rich kid.
You ran away to join the circus too, huh?
Angsty old dude.
It's all in the eyes, Chico.
Girls can be mechanics too.
Listen to that clown, man!
I'm always eating, which is not really a stereotype, it's just a fact.
I'm starving! Oh man, I'm starving!
The hell, Ross?
Lifesaver.
And Manu.
Oh, strong grip, son.
Nothing bad to say about Manu here, he's pretty cool actually. The comparisons to the Underground series are not that weird. It focuses on the underground racing scene at night, it tries to embrace car culture, and yes, full car customization is back. While that sounds like a step in the right direction, the execution leaves a lot to the imagination. Underground also solely takes place at night, but where that game looks like a dark room brightly lit up by big neon signs, this game often feels like the same room but without the signs. Underground was embracing car culture at the time, mainly focusing on the popularity of the Fast and Furious movies, and actually made a well-working game out of that. Need for Speed 2015 looks like what you get when you ask people who are not into car culture what car culture is like.
We got him right where we want him, man. Oh, Magnus, we're coming after you, bro.
The end result is a pretty cringy attempt to be hip by including conversations with things like
You have to get in line, bae. Forget him. He's just jelly. Are you mad, bro?
and with that tries to please a broad audience, but walking away from the people that actually like to play these kinds of games. I mean, Jesus Christ, were the scriptwriters 12-year-old Facebook influencers? I've seen fondue with less cheese.
Welcome to the rest of your life.
Now don't get me wrong, I never expected the Need for Speed story to be the next Bioshock, and it's better in every way than Rivals, but being better than that game is like letting an alligator fight a newborn. It's not a very fair fight. In my opinion, this game is a step in the right direction. This cringy story is presented in a similar fashion to Most Wanted and Carbon, and the inclusion of guys like Vaughn Gittin Jr., Ken Block and industry legend Nakai-san was a great move. As far as the cars themselves go, I did like the amount of cars you can choose from and the amount of customization you had for most of the cars. At least I had the opportunity to make my Lambo look like a SoundCloud rapper's forehead, which was greatly appreciated by Nakai-san himself.
No.
Let me show you around.
Unfortunately, it's the car's handling that also kind of hold the game back. In this game, you have the choice to tune your car to be more grippy or more drifty. Only problem, when you tune it completely to grip, the car becomes a rocket that will only go forward. When you tune it completely to drift, you'll beat drift races with ease, but it becomes undrivable anywhere else. This in combination with customization errors made the customizing of cars not as entertaining as I was hoping, but more on that in a bit. It's needless to say I still hate the always online aspect. But as far as I know, it is improved upon since release and it's far better implemented than in Rivals. I actually took the time here and there to challenge people I saw driving around me, and they never bothered me while I was in races. Especially the addition of rep sharing, the ability to share your visual customizations with other players, is an absolute godsend, but you'll see more of that in the upcoming games. The different kinds of races that you've come to expect from a Need for Speed game are pretty much all here, and apart from that there are even some side challenges that are somewhat enjoyable though not very rewarding. In fact, the game as a whole is not very rewarding since it's way too easy. Cop chases always ended in me actually having to slow down so they wouldn't lose me, because of certain goals I needed to complete. As easy as the game is during the story, that's how difficult the post-game is with the inclusion of prestige events. The same events you did before, but now you have to complete them within a certain time limit in order to gold star them, which is close to impossible. Personally, I gave up on these because they are goddamn difficult. Well, so far the game has its flaws, but it's not that bad, right? Well, you're right, but unfortunately there's still one very big flaw I have to talk about, and that is the game's performance. First of all, when you play this game with a controller, it straight up doesn't work unless you go into the control options and delete all the inputs of every single controller. Mouse and keyboard, steering wheel, etc. Except for the controller itself. This is one of those weird glitches that was pointed out around the release but was never fixed. A similar problem Rivals had. If you don't delete all these inputs, the cars won't gear up above the third gear and steering becomes way too sensitive. If you fix this, playing with the controller still brings some issues. Changed inputs get reset to default as soon as you leave the garage, and somehow you're unable to visually customize your car with the controller. Once you've entered the visualization menu, you're not able to get out of it at all. Sometimes this freezes the game instantly, and sometimes you're just stuck in this menu forever. Again, this bug was pointed out around the release but was never fixed. Then when everything actually works, the game still freezes every now and then. It never really runs that smooth. The game is covered in one of those stupid film grain filters you can't switch off, and sometimes it takes very long for the world around you to load in. That is, if the world actually loads in at all. Overall, yes, it is enjoyable. And it's definitely a step in the right direction for the franchise. Though it did everything better than Rivals and Most Wanted 2012, I'd still recommend older titles over this game. Final verdict for me would be a simple, you tried. Shout out to the guy who chose the soundtrack for this game though. Including Stormzy, the Chemical Brothers and Run the Jewels is a huge plus in my book. Moving on to Need for Speed Payback. This game takes place in a fictional city based on Las Vegas, complete with deserts, casinos, corruption and Jake Paul? The story focuses on not one, but 3 characters, and it looks like they learned a lesson or two about script writing since 2015's Need for Speed. Leader Tyler is kind of a whiny little bitch, but gets to drive all the speedy boys. Then there's Jessica, who can only talk in one tone and doesn't have emotions, but she saves the day a couple of times, so that's cool. Finally, there's Sean, and why is Sean not the main protagonist in this game? Seriously, he's the best driver by far. He has an interesting character arc in this story, in which he makes friends and allies, and they took the time to make this whole background story of him leaving London and going to America to chase the dream. What is Tyler's motivation? I don't know. I don't care. He's just complaining a lot.
Just a quick drive home, then I can finally get out of this monkey suit.
Anyway, they form a crew and you start off with them driving their own cool cars and you get a little taste of everyone's specific skill set. Tyler has the flashy speed machines, Jessica the not so flashy undercover cars, and Sean has the, well, basically they're monster trucks and rally cars. One of your crewmates turns out to be a bad guy, another one almost dies, you get to drive a Koenigsegg and then you get your starter car, a Nissan Fairlady. No wait, your starter car is an Aston Martin DB11. Oh no, wait, it's a BMW M5? Wait, it's a Mustang? Ah, there we go. You can choose from 3 starter cars. So needless to say, the introduction takes a while, but it sets the story up very nicely. I love the fact that they really put some effort into setting up a story here. They really try to make fun of the sort of characters you saw in 2015's Need for Speed.
Tyler, is that you, bro?
Hey, Matt, Captain. It's been a while.
And they embraced actual car culture a lot more in my opinion. Yes, there is rivalry and a main antagonist, but this game makes place for actual allies and friendships. which is such a nice inclusion. In this game you work your way up, switching between several different sorts of races. The ones you expect like drifting, drag, sprint, etc. But with the new inclusion of undercover and courier races with Jessica, and off-road and speed cross races with Sean. This makes the game so enjoyable because there is so much variety in races and environments. After finishing a certain amount of races you get access to a special mission. This is a mission in which the 3 characters have to work together, so you switch between the 3 of them GTA 5 style. These missions are awesome. Whether it's about a high-speed chase and stealing a hypercar,
You got this?
Jess!
making your way through downtown in a semi, being followed by a huge horde of cops, or stealing gold-plated $1 million vehicles. It's just so much fun.
The Mac attack 2. Mac strikes back.
Holy hell! Thanks.
It's like the developers were asking themselves, do we want to make a sort of Fast and Furious heist game, a Forza Horizon kind of game, or an actual enjoyable arcadey Need for Speed game? And the answer was yes. Seriously, this is a better Fast and Furious game than, well, you know, the actual Fast and Furious game. The world this all takes place in is not really anything new for the franchise, but because of the addition of all these different kinds of races, it feels a lot more open and accessible. The inclusion of a day and night cycle, different kinds of terrain, and actual pedestrians make this world feel more alive than any other open world Need for Speed game I've ever played. On top of that, doing side missions, of which there are a lot as well, actually feels rewarding, because doing this will allow you to unlock customizations for your car, and the addition of derelict cars, which are cars that can be put back together by finding car parts throughout the world, makes the game feel like it's a straight up investigation game. Full car customization also makes a return, and in my opinion better implemented than in 2015's Need for Speed. Similar to Need for Speed Pro Street, you choose which cars you'll use for which sort of events. You chose a Mazda for drifting? Well, that's fine, but now you can't use it for off-road races. This might sound annoying, but it's actually great. Not only do cars start handling different based on the event you chose it for, but customization will also differ because of this. Choose a car for drifting and it will become a low-riding corner master, but choosing the same ride for off-roading and it becomes a symbol of democracy. This addition makes the customization feel just that little bit more fleshed out than in 2015's Need for Speed. And in a similar way, the visual customization in this game improves just slight things over the previous entry. Again, with the addition of rep sharing, I was able to make my car collection look absolutely amazing. In fact, I want to thank everyone who made it possible for me to recreate the best movie ever made. As far as car tuning goes, that's where the positives pretty much stop. I really hated this. Every race you'll earn a card which you can apply to your car in order to make it go faster. If you want to specifically get a certain card, the only way to try and get it is by using what is basically a slot machine. You use a certain amount of coins to spin the wheel and you get these coins by playing the game. However, it is possible to run out of coins, and the only alternative to get these coins is to, you guessed it, buy them with actual money. Just let me tune my car in whichever way I want it without having to worry about some stupid RNG slot machine every time I need something. Is this kind of practice a deal breaker? Hell no. On top of all the positive things I've already said about this game, I had no performance issues, no controller issues, a steady frame rate, and hell fucking yes, the soundtrack is banging. Queens of the Stone Age, Royal Blood, Nothing But Thieves, and Death From Above for the rock fans, and even the hip hop fans will get a fair share of great tracks with artists like Stormzy, Post Malone, and Jaden Smith. Yeah, you heard me, Jaden Smith. And the fact that Lil Kleine is included in this game? Yeah, we'll just pretend he's not here. Gameplay wise, the only thing that was a shame is that the police chases are heavily scripted. No longer will you go into free roam mode trying to take out as many cops as possible before fleeing the scene and cooling down. But instead you drive a little while with some cops in your rearview mirror and then you just lose them. There's not really a feeling of tension here. As long as you just keep driving, you'll be fine. Though these scripted sections were just kind of a letdown, other cutscenes in scripted sections were actually pretty awesome.
Okay, boys, let's get out of here.
I can honestly say that this game took me by surprise and left me with a very good feeling. It's one of the most complete Need for Speed experiences I've ever played, and there are so many very welcome additions to make the game enjoyable. Out of all Need for Speed games, this is in my opinion definitely up there with the all-time greats. Last but definitely not least, we arrived at the game I was most excited for. Need for Speed Heat, or as my girlfriend likes to call it, Need for Speed, takes place in a fictional city based on Miami and lets you switch between legal race events for cash in the daytime and illegal street racing for reputation at night. As all good Need for Speeds do, you start off with a hugely overpowered car. In fact, it was so powerful my frame rate tanked. Only to lose it and start over again with a tier 1 car. Now it's your job to find yourself some friends, form a crew and beat every single person you come across. The game tries to be a bit more personal here, with the story of your character moving up the racing ladder together with Anna and her brother Lucas, who together with you take on the corrupt police in their city by illegal racing, millions of dollars in damage and complaining so much all the time.
You can only lead from the front. I'm not seeing anything special yet. We don't have all day.
That lead won't last long.
Really, why is everyone in Need for Speed games always complaining? Can I please have Sean back? In the meantime, you can also do race events with guys like Dex, this long-haired drifty boy, and girl who always loses but never shuts up about how good she is. Starting with this game, there were already a few things that got my attention, and that is not in a very positive way. First of all, the game starts so uninteresting. You just do races in a car that handles like absolute ass. You get to know the characters, but they don't really have a story to tell that's worth writing home about. And then it's just a whole lot of driving somewhere, talking a bit, driving somewhere else, doing some races, and it's all just so meh. The inclusion of a voice protagonist, which is even fully customizable, isn't going to save me from boredom in this story. Mostly because at the start of the game you can only do sprint and circuit races, you just slog through it. In fact, it's not the only thing this game does worse than Payback. As I've just said, at the start of the game cars handle like shit in my opinion. I kept struggling with a completely unnecessary new mechanic they implemented. You see, in pretty much every Need for Speed game you drift through corners by pressing the brakes. In this game, instead of braking before a corner in order to drift, the game tells you to tap the gas and then keep it pushed in while sliding through a corner. Though it's not difficult to learn, it's so counterintuitive, especially when you've just played 4 other games with different handling. So at this point, the story was boring, pretty much no variation in races. Drifting sucks because the cars handle awful, but the game looks great, right? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Graphics wise the game looks pretty good, but when you look around in this world it just seems a bit bland. No more random pedestrians to make the world feel alive, not that much of a variety in landscapes. The nice purple and pink colors you see in the main menu and all the promotional material makes way for grey, and it's raining all the time. Seriously, this isn't exaggerated, it's literally always raining. This is supposed to be based on Miami, right? Why is it always raining? Remember how everything was lit up at night in Underground 2, or how Pro Street was filled with LED signs and balloons in the daytime? This game could have been that, but it just isn't. I mean, sure, there are some places where you actually see some color, but when the most unexpected variety in the world map is a burnt forest, I think you can understand why I wasn't all too excited about it. Unfortunately, because of this, it doesn't really do the soundtrack much justice either. The bigger focus on EDM and Moombahton would have fitted the game more if it was filled with sunshine and vibrant colors. The fact that the music changes to a more hip-hop centered soundtrack at night with artists like Machine Gun Kelly is, however, a nice surprise. So at this point I was thinking, is this just a bad game? Were my expectations too high? Am I, after playing 5 Need for Speed games, just a victim of Need for Speed fatigue? Well, call it a miracle, because after 25 fucking hours of gameplay, the sun literally came bursting through the clouds and all of a sudden I started to actually like this game. Here's why. First of all, the amount of cars in this game is just insane. It's so awesome to see not only the newest and fastest sports cars make their way into this game, but also some awesome classics. Now, does it piss me off that my Countach doesn't come with a Wolf of Wall Street DLC in which I'm tripping balls in a loot-filled unicorn-chasing adventure? Of course it does, but the fact that I can relive my childhood dream of pretending to be Dr. Dre definitely heals those wounds. And apart from that, these are awesome cars nonetheless. And most of the things I loved about this game were because of the cars and definitely the car customization. They went just a bit more bananas in this one, which is very welcome. All cars are fully customizable and some of them are goddamn insane. That's exactly why my Aston Martin now looks like the Batmobile. This was such a welcoming feature after slogging through the first 10 hours of the game in what I crowned the Simpmobile. Again, thanks Rap Editor. In fact, it inspired me to make the greatest piece of art I've ever made. Even the tuning, which was awful in Payback, was made so much better by basically going back to basics, in that you can just buy whatever part you want after unlocking it. Even though at the start I really had to get used to the handling of the cars, tuning them made them handle more in the way that I wanted. This in combination with the fact that after a while stuff like off-road racing and time trials are back, made it so that I could tune my cars best fitted for whatever I used it for. Want a Lancer for rally racing? You got it. Want a 180SX for drifting? Sure thing. Want a Beetle that looks like it eats Lambos for breakfast? I just couldn't stop making new cars because there is so much variety and customization. If only this variety could also be found in the races, maybe I could have made even weirder looking cars. But since races like Speedcross and Drag didn't make the cut for this game, the choice in races is still a bit slim. Now I've told you already that the open world is definitely not my favorite in the franchise, but it does have some of the most destructible environments in any Need for Speed game. This made the racing very fast and very fluid. Seriously, in some races you don't even have to let go of the gas pedal simply because you can just run straight through brick walls, trees, fences, etc. This made the return of free roam police chases a very welcome one, but good luck trying to get rid of them after heat level 4 or 5. Even if you can destroy so much of the environment, there is no real easy way of getting rid of them except just ramming into them as hard as possible. The only problem is that this also damages your own car, and you can only repair your car a total of 3 times per night. It's very challenging to get rid of higher heat level cops, but that makes the reward so much more satisfying. After completing the game, you can definitely see which parts of the game are great and which are not. The story unfortunately isn't one of the great things in this game. First of all, you just never really connect with the characters. Sure, they have their backstory, but it's not really fleshed out, and they aren't so charismatic that I constantly was being sucked back into the story. The story can be completed in what felt like an hour, and again, it's just so underwhelming. You just ram the bad guy a few times, he gets shot in a cutscene, and then it's pretty much over. Oh yeah, Anna wrecked a car once that belonged to her father, and the game tried to play the end off like, oh my god, you repaired the car that I wrecked, that must have cost so much money, it means so much to me. And at the same time I'm there like, yo, that doesn't work as a plot device if you can literally just drive through a gas station in this game to magically repair your car. It's a good thing that after the story there's still a lot to do. Completing races you've unlocked and finding all the collectibles, which actually makes sense in this game since it gives you cars and stickers as a reward. All in all, this game was enjoyable after a very slow start. It did away with a lot of variety I really liked about Payback, and this in combination with a not so very interesting story and a super bland open world resulted in a game that could have been a lot more in my opinion. And that's it. 5 Need for Speed games that didn't necessarily rekindle the flame between me and the Need for Speed franchise, but made me realize there's still a lot of fun to be had in these games. When starting with Most Wanted and Rivals, you could definitely see that the franchise was not in a good place. Fun chaotic arcade racing made way for underwhelming gameplay, unnecessary DLCs, and a bland and soulless experience as a whole. That made it even more rewarding to see the franchise bloom up a bit more in later titles. Need for Speed 2015 was an enjoyable ride, but still missed some of the things here and there to make it something memorable. But you could see it had potential, and I'm very happy to see that potential work out in Payback and Heat. Where Payback was in my opinion the best game out of these by far, Heat is a fair second by doing a lot of things right, but failing to live up to my expectations by not really doing anything new and getting rid of some of the best things implemented in Payback. Be that as it may, this franchise looks to be heading in the right direction once more, and it might even still be possible to return to the success it once had with Most Wanted and Underground. Will that ever happen? I don't know. But God, do I hope so. Thanks for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know what your favorite Need for Speed game is in the comment section. And of course, let me know if this video was entertaining or informative to you. Leave a like if it was, subscribe if you like my content, and I really hope to see you in my future videos. Bye!